Welcome back to the tailgate of doom. I decided I'm going to keep this truck, and by I decided, I mean my wife said no. On a anyway, really, it just doesn't make sense to get a new truck, even though I want one. I did look at new trucks, and would you believe, in 2019, Ford still has this ridiculous lip stuck up a quarter inch above the tailgate. Still, to this day, 9 years later, 10 years later, they haven't changed that. So everything you drag out of the pickup gets hung up on that lip. First, it was the front side of this lip. Everything you drug out got hung up right there, and it peeled the lip up to the point where I had to go and put all these screws down here the entire way. I had to bend it back with a hammer. Now, I got a solution. I've got this tailgate cover that bolts on this way, but unfortunately, what holds the tailgate cover on is these screws that stripped out. The first and one and only time I ever took them out and put them back in, they stripped. So, just to see, I took one of the stripped bolts out, which these are them. Breezy, stop, it's not coming down. And it's metric. I don't know what size that would be, but here's a quarter American. And I tapped it out to American, and by golly, it's gonna hold. So I'm gonna take all these screws out, pull this plate off, bend it back flat because it's wallered out like this. While I got this off, I'm gonna grease all the pivot points and joints in here because it's getting a little hard to open, and you got to slam it pretty hard to close it. So let me get them screws off, and then I'm going to replace. I am going to put screws back in there, but I'm also going to do a few up here to just to pull it back tight. But what I've got is some stainless screws I'm going to go back with. So let me get to work, and when I get that cover off, I'll show you what it looks like. He didn't come down, did he? That squirrel didn't come down and fight like a man. Well, what I have is some 90 weight and a big dropper. And I'm going to fill that dropper up and squeeze some oil up on those pivot points. And in here, I figured out how to adjust these tailgate latches. I'll show you. This opens up, and you pick this rod up and you move it in a little bit. I moved it in 2 threads on each side, and it's tighter. That just snaps open. So let me get everything oiled up and get all these holes tapped out. And then I'm going to take a 2x4 and go down that and hammer on it and flatten it back out. And let me get that done. We'll be back. All right, I got all those old, the old holes. I got new screws, stainless screws in the old holes, and I am going to put a few up here. This, it's still not tight even. Anyway, I'm not gonna go crazy like I did down there. I'm gonna put probably, I don't know, 6, 8 across the top of this. And yeah, let me get some holes drilled. More down this way, and then I can I just put these bolts in it just to keep this positioned while I drove these screws in there. And as soon as I get 1, 2, 3, 4 more in, okay, I did more than 8, okay? You know I'm an over fastener, but I did show a little restraint. I only put like 10 in here. All right, a few more, and then I'll pull these out and get that down here. I figured. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, but 10 because I broke one. So, you know, I have gotten better. A few years ago, there'd have been 30 in here. All right, back to work. Now I got to get them 1/4-20s in there with washers. And it's not going to be easy because these holes don't exactly line up. But let me get them started. Well, looks good. I think that's going to solve the problem. I am going to put a couple of screws down on the bottom here just so I don't hook it and drag it, you know, break it or hook something on it. And I think these little indentations are meant for screws anyway. So let me find a couple of big head sheet metal screws and I'll put them in there. And I am going to take a bead of silicone and run it across this little gap here, because when the tailgate is in its up position, water will get back in there, and I don't want it to. But I think that's going to work. Let me find a couple of big head screws. All right, I got 4 holes drilled. I got 4 fat head screws. I got a big fat screwdriver. And I'm sticking with 4. I'm telling you, before I joined the OFA, Over Fasteners Anonymous, and I had a sponsor, yeah, there'd have been 30 or 40 screws in here. All right, I got I think that's 3/16. What is that? Yeah, 3/16. And I think that'll do it. I believe that'll do it. Let me get them holes drilled. Okay, so I will be calling my OFA sponsor. But in defense of my over-fastening, the original holes fell in a valley. You know, they have ribs that go this way. So I don't want to do this twice. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes, 8 screws. But we're done. I don't have any silicone, and when I do, I will put a bead across the top of that. And I'll put a little silicone in these 2 holes just to plug them up. Okay, on to the next project. Putting vents in that steel building there. Yeah, I was wrong about the next project. And boy, does this open 100 times easier. 100 times easier. That's a, you know them electric scooters for folks that can't walk far, good, or at all? That's a ramp that hooks into the back of my receiver hitch. And I got to get that out and assemble it so Bev can go to the zoo with us. Alrighty. It's got a ramp. I think the bottom, I think this is the ramp. What are these doing in there? That is a lot of screws. All these little brackets, 2, 4, 6, oh, my back. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 28. Now I gotta, all these I gotta put in. I got almost done assembling that, and then I gotta bolt this on. This goes into the receiver hitch, and then put the ramp on. All right, it's assembled. Let me get my trailer hitch out and this slid in there just to make sure it's all gonna work. So I have 16 of these. So I'm gonna put 4 across the bottom and 4 across the top on each side. And they are a little bit loose. So well, that's not so bad. I don't think that'll be popping out. I may go ahead and put a pop rivet on either side. And yeah, I may. I don't know yet. I am an over fastener. So, all right, 15 more. All right, done. Now it's time for a Mountain Dew. Alrighty then.